Here is the charity news for week commencing 11th of April 2025.
There is no swimming on Monday due to school holidays and a bank holiday. Swimming will commence on Monday the 28th of April.
The coffee morning for hearing loss is on Monday at Thompson Nursery, Newchurch, from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please pop along and meet staff and fellow members for a chat over coffee.
There's yoga at Millbrook House on Tuesday between 1:45 and 2:45 p.m. This group is now full, but if you wish to put your name down on the waiting list, please call the office.
One Wednesday morning we will be holding a bucket collection in Newport Asda between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. If you are shopping in store, please pop by and say hello.
Coffee and chat is on Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
On Wednesday afternoon, the 16th, we have our Eye on Social. This is open to everyone. This month we welcome Anton from the Isle of Wight Glass Museum, who will talk about the history of glass. The cost is £3 to include refreshments.
Our office will be closed next Friday as it is Good Friday. Our Talking News item are producing the news on Thursday for you all to enjoy, although it may be a shortened version. We reopen after the bank holiday, Monday, on Tuesday the 22nd of April.
There's still time to buy your Easter novelties. This year we are selling them in the following locations: Brystone Village Stores, The Sloop, The Crown Shorewell, Gurnard Press, Hover Travel Terminals in Ryde and Southsea, as well as Millbrook House, for a suggested donation of £2.50p. We would like to thank all our wonderful knitters this year. The response has been truly overwhelming.
Our Easter Square raffle, with a host of Easter goodies up for grabs, is being drawn on Wednesday. Squares are £1 each, so if you would like to purchase a square, please do not hesitate to call the office or pop in by Millbrook House.
We are once again holding a pudding and quiz evening on Friday the 25th of April at Millbrook House. A maximum of 4 per team and a charge of £5 per person. Teams are limited, so please call the office and put your name down before they sell out. This is the second part of the Talking News, read by myself, John,
and by Imelda.
We begin with more news items taken from the county press. Ireland inquest delays twice the national average, by Liam Chorley. Grieving Ireland families are having to wait more than twice the national average to learn how their loved ones have died. Not for the first time, Baroness Hodgson of Abinger has brought Isle of Wight inquest to the attention of the House of Lords. Writing to government, her question to the Ministry of Justice was to ask how many inquests had been heard on the Isle of Wight in each year from 2022 to 2024. She also asked for the average time from death to inquest in England and Wales, and the Isle of Wight specifically, and how many inquests were yet to be concluded in each coroner area on average. The questions were put to the Ministry of Justice on March the 25th, and on April the 1st, Lord Ponsonby of Shalbreed responded. He confirmed that in 2023, the most recent year for which data is available, the average time to complete an inquest across all coroner areas in England and Wales was estimated to be 31.5 weeks. In the Isle of Wight coroner area, it was 66.8 weeks. In the Isle of Wight coroner area, 105 inquests were completed in 2022 and 158 in 2023. On December 31st, 2023, the average of number of incomplete inquests across all coroner areas in England and Wales was 242. In the Isle of Wight coroner area, 311 inquests were incomplete as of December 31st, 2023. Coroner's statistics for 2024 will be published on May the 8th, 2025. The Isle of Wight Council invested more than £80,000 to redevelop the first floor of its offices at Sea Close in Newport in order to provide dedicated coroner's court facilities on the island. The local authority said the inability to use the Isle of Wight Crown Court, the only courtroom on the island with dedicated jury facilities since the summer of 2022, was partly to blame for delays. This, combined with reduced capacity within the coroner's team, significantly impacted the way in which the coroner had been able to deliver the service, the council said. Following the completion of the works, public inquests are now being held more frequently.
New Education Lead Talks Schools Funding Challenge. The Isle of Wight still has an ongoing birth rate issue which will have to be addressed, the Council's New Education Cabinet member has said. Speaking to the press after joining County Hall's ruling executed last week, Councillor Claire Christensen said funding for island schools would continue to be a challenge amid rising costs and changing needs. Councillor Christensen replaces Councillor Jonathan Bacon, who departed from the office last month, half an hour before a crucial vote on 5 proposed school closures. The Alliance administration ultimately opted to close primaries in Cowes and Arreton, but not those earmarked in Wroxhall, Brading and Oakfield. In a blistering attack on most of the Cabinet, who chose not to back all 5 of the closures, Councillor Bacon's resignation statement says their unacceptable last-minute turnaround meant political needs were put before the interests of island children. I don't want to dwell on this process. It seems like a lot of this time with the schools, and I think that was what was hard for people, Councillor Christensen said. In the past, it's just been one school here, one school there, but because this problem started in 2018, or before and wasn't dealt with at that point, it's escalated. The birth rate only went down because of COVID, not up, so we're now in the position we're in. The process was correct, everything was taken into consideration. It was an island-wide approach, and that process will have to be restarted again. The Green Party, represented for Chale, Knighton and Shorewell, said she stepped into the post seeing an opportunity and having an interest in the area. She also wanted to be helpful with County Hall's transition to a new committee system of government, which will take effect from May. As to how effective the new model is likely to be in dealing with the island's educational challenges, Councillor Christensen was uncertain. I know the Director of Children's Services, Ashley Whitaker, has worked in a committee system before. The new Committee for Children's Services will have to decide the way forward for this process.
12-year wait to sort out potholed road by Liam Chorley. Residents in Alveston Garden Village have learned they must likely wait at least 12 years before they even have a chance of having their road resurfaced. They say Young Woods Way is in, quote, a shocking state of repair, unquote. The condition of the road has long been a bone of contention for its residents, says Philip Heron. The 60-year-old, who has lived at the end of the road for 12 years, found himself £2,000 out of pocket after he hit a pothole on his way home a couple of weeks ago. Island Roads has since filled in more than 50 potholes, but more extensive treatment for the patchwork road, one believed to have not been resurfaced since it was first constructed in the 1970s, is a long way away. Philip had to have his car's suspension replaced and must drive at 10 miles per hour. He said, "You get potholes appear and Island Roads come along and patch them up. The day after I complained, they came out and repaired the pothole I hit, which is great, but there are various areas which keep needing to be refilled. When I was driving home, I felt my steering go, and by the time I got to the bottom of the hill, my tyres were dragging in the wheel arches. It collapsed the whole suspension." Island Road says Young Woods Way is inspected yearly, using the same technical equipment and processes used across the island, which look at the safety and structure of the roads. "We pass with flying colours," said Philip. "The machine gave us a grading of 17 out of 20, so it's a case of computer says no. Island Roads has 12 years left on their contract, so we're going to be waiting at least 12 years before there's a chance of resurface works, unless something major happens, which is frustrating." A spokesperson for Island Roads said, "We understand the concerns of residents, but there are clear standards for road conditions set out in our contract. While there are some superficial, worn or peeling areas, which we understand residents might find visually unappealing, the visual appearance of roads do not form part of the safety requirements. Our estimation at this time is that the road will not require surfacing during the period of our contract. However, we will continue to monitor the condition of the road and will resolve any safety issues arising. We have now planned a small area for repair near the Woodside Avenue junction."
New High Sheriff sworn in and spells out priorities. Helping to signpost young islanders to decent career and educational opportunities is the aim to the new High Sheriff, Jacqueline Gazard. Best known as Jack, she was sworn in at a special declaration ceremony held at Newport Minster on Monday. Taking over the reins from Graham Bliss, she follows in the footsteps of some eminent holders of the role, such as Goy Maria Minguella Gaddins, Anne Springman, the island's Lord Lieutenant, Susie Selden, and TV celebrity Alan Titchmarsh, for example. Born on the island, Jack's childhood was spent at her parents' hotel business in Sandown, where she helped with chambermaiding and waitressing as a young teenager. After attending Ryde Convent and Medina High School, she studied history at Cambridge University. Before university, Jack spent 9 months in Paris, working as a nanny to improve her French. She returned to the island to work at Isle of Wight Radio, where she helped establish the station's advertising arm before moving to London to work at Selfridges. Jacques started her career in public relations with the Glass and Glazing Federation, and then later joined Historic Royal Palaces, where she worked her way up to head of communications. HRP combined everything that I loved. A dream job for me. It was a fabulous opportunity, she said. HRP comprises the Tower of London, Hampton Court Palace, Kensington Palace, Kew Palace and Banqueting Hall at Whitehall and Hillsborough Castle, Stormont in Northern Ireland. Incredible places where history happened, she said. Jacques has also been involved in various voluntary roles on the island, including being a trustee for Brading Roman Villa, Sight for White, St John Ambulance and Newport Minster. She is trained as a forest school leader and has worked on initiatives to promote outdoor learning for children. I'm very proud to represent the island and looking forward to meeting many local groups, including the coming 12 months, she said. I will work to support and promote opportunities for young islanders, building chances for them to achieve their ambitions. I genuinely believe in kids. If we give them the right opportunities and the right support in life, then they are capable of so much. I also want to support the many people who make me the magnificent voluntary sector.
Call for urgent land link study amid Isle of Wight connectivity crisis by Oliver Dyer. An Isle of Wight councillor is leading calls for an urgent and comprehensive viability study into a fixed link between the Isle of Wight and the mainland. Amid what she calls a connectivity crisis, Councillor Debbie Andre is pushing for a study to determine whether it is a viable and beneficial solution. Councillor Andre, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health, says she has the backing of Isle of Wight West MP Richard Quigley. Mr Quigley has confirmed he is in support of a viability study. Meanwhile, Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson has told the county press he is not in support of a fixed link, but can understand why Councillor Andre wants a feasibility study, given the state of the ferries. Pointing to a recent report which showed the Isle of Wight East constituency is the second most left behind area in the United Kingdom, Councillor Andre said, "The lack of affordable and reliable connectivity is seriously impacting the island's economy and the daily lives of residents. The Isle of Wight relies on consistent, reliable and affordable transport links, yet ferry services have repeatedly failed to deliver adequate lifeline services," said Debbie Andre. A fixed link could provide a dependable alternative and boost economic growth, but the first step is a detailed independent study to establish the facts. Councillor Andre said the study would explore regulation obligations, funding models and expected benefits for residents, businesses and tourism. Years of failing ferry services, rising costs and frequent disruptions have left many businesses struggling and residents increasingly isolated, she added. This is not the first time talk of a fixed link has surfaced. Separate proposals for a tunnel, spearheaded by Islander Carl Feeney and the Isle of Wight Fixed Link Tunnel campaign, have previously been touted. However, after several years of campaigning, the group failed to raise the money needed for a study. Councillor Andre added, residents, businesses and stakeholders are encouraged to engage with the campaign for a fixed link viability study and voice their opinions by emailing both Debbie Andre 4flstudy@gmail.com and their respective MP, either richard.quigley.mp@parliament.uk or joe.robertson.mp@parliament.uk. Please include name and full address, including postcode.
Homophobic man abused Isle of Wight's councillor. A man who directed vile homophobic jibes at Isle of Wight councillor Carl Love was spared an immediate term of imprisonment. Simon Wheeler admitted breaching a restraining order not to contact the island councillor for East Cowes on November the 3rd, 2023. The 57-year-old of Albany Road, East Cowes, appeared for sentencing at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Monday. Wheeler had initially denied the charge. Lucy McGarr, prosecuting by video link from her car after getting stuck in traffic, said Wheeler flouted the restraining order by using threatening behaviour and harassing towards Councillor Love. Councillor Love became the victim of homophobic and abusive comments from Wheeler while he was out walking with a friend in East Cowes. Several members of the public came to the defence of Councillor Love, telling Wheeler to leave him alone, said Miss McGraw. Councillor Love, in his victim statement to the police, said he felt very drained by Wheeler's behaviour and spitefulness. It followed other instances of similar behaviour by Wheeler towards the councillor, which led to the restraining order being made on April the 17th, 2023. Wheeler appeared in court with a record of 4 convictions for 6 offences, which also included fraud. Ms. McGarr says, "It was a deliberate breach aggravated by the fact it had not been Wheeler's first offence against the same victim. He has been causing outgoing distress to Mr. Love." For Wheeler, Oliver Hirsch said his client had not caused a repeat of the breach in the past 16 months, which the judge, Michael Bowes, said had persuaded him not to hand him an immediate jail sentence. Wheeler was handed 9 months imprisonment, suspended for 2 years. The judge also made Wheeler subject to a fresh 5-year restraining order not to contact Councillor Love directly or indirectly. He was also ordered to complete 20 rehabilitation sessions with the probation service. The judge warned Wheeler, "If you breach the order, you will almost certainly go to prison."
Highly rated island beach, quote, like Riviera, unquote. A popular beach has been named one of the best in the UK by Condé Nast Traveller. The travel magazine has named Ventnor Beach among the top in the country, the only island beach to make the list. Condé Nast Traveller said the beach had a Riviera feel and praised its cleanliness, accessibility and rock pools. It also highlighted Sandown Beach and Compton Bay as 2 notable beaches on the island. The article said, "More than half the Isle of Wight has been designated an area of outstanding beauty, and there is 65 miles of coastline to explore. Along the more beautiful south coast, there's a beach to suit everyone. Swimming at Sandown, surfing off Compton Bay, and family fun at Ventnor. Navigate the winding roads down through the cliffs and the cascading gardens and onto the golden beachfront of the Victorian town of Ventnor, which has something of a Riviera feel."
New hope for woman offered a tent to live in. Hope could be on the horizon for a grieving woman who was offered a tent and a sleeping bag in the face of homelessness. Sarah Arnold of Western Road, Shanklin, remains in her privately rented home days after her eviction date collapsed. In the In the aftermath of the county press's online story, Sarah said that she'd been inundated with nice comments and even offers of a room, which she really appreciates. Sarah, 52, has lived in the house for the past 9 years, but she got into a bit of a mess after her fiancé and partner of 13 years, Russell Cook, died in April 2023. She returned to alcohol, was hospitalised twice, lost her job and failed to pay her rent. Sarah's landlord was very kind throughout the process, she said, but with her rent in arrears, they were left with no choice to issue an eviction order, a decision she understands. "I know it's my fault," she said. "I should have paid the rent, but I was trying to sort out all my benefits when I was coming out of hospital." Sarah, who has a number of health issues, said she contacted the Isle of Wight Council for help and was told, "Your medical records don't prioritise you on an emergency housing need." She said the officer told her someone would be round the day before she is evicted to give her a sleeping bag and a tent, and advice on where's the best place to plot it. "I've worked since I was 14. I've never been out of work. I've paid all my taxes and all my national insurance," she said. Russell would be turning in his grave if he saw what happened I was in now. A councillor spokesperson said the authority cannot comment on individual cases, but should anyone be dissatisfied with the advice received, they should contact the council directly. Since the CP's story went online, the council has contacted her, offering a potential situation. Sarah said the local authority is proposing to pay off half her arrears in rent, using a grant, and front the cost of the other half. A payment plan would then be set up for Sarah to pay back the council, she said. The proposal has been put to the landlord, who did not evict her on Tuesday as planned, and Sarah is now waiting to hear back. She hopes the landlord will offer her a 6-month tenancy to give her time to look for another property.
Battle lines drawn as candidates get set for May Day poll by Rufus Pickles. Candidates have been confirmed for the upcoming Isle of Wight Council by-elections in the 3 wards going to the polls on May the 1st. Freshwater South voters can choose between 6 candidates. 4 of those hoping to replace John Medland as county councillor are standing under the banner of political parties. They are Anne Bamford, Labour Party, Bill Nye, Reform UK, Warren White, Conservative, and Tony Zide, Liberal Democrats. 2, meanwhile, are independents, Becca Cameron and Emma Cox. Anne Bamford said, "For 11 years I have been serving on Freshwater Parish Council. Now I hope to preserve the unique character of Freshwater while securing the best devolution deal for the island." Fellow Parish Councillor Warren White said, "I'm standing for a strong and local voice, and as a candidate that lives and works in the ward, you can rely on me to have Freshwater's interests first and foremost." Becca Cameron said, "My lifelong commitment to our local heritage and my proactive approach to tackling issues like flooding, pollution and community well-being position me uniquely to serve West Wight." In Lake North, those standing are Emily Brothers, Labour Party, Julie Burridge, Liberal Democrats, David McLean, Reform UK, Robert May, Green Party, Sarah Morris, Independent, and Adrian Whittaker, Conservatives. It follows the resignation of Conservative County Councillor Tig Outlaw. Adrian Whittaker, Deputy Chair of Lake Parish Council, and Deputy Mayor of Shanklin, said he was disappointed his opponents had not put themselves forward to also be parish councillors. He said, "It makes me wonder if they really have the interests of Lake residents at heart." Robert May, a Sandown town councillor, said he wanted to give people the opportunity to vote Green and for someone committed to the environment. Emily Brothers stood as Labour's Isle of Wight East general election candidate. Sarah Morris previously stood as Reform UK's general election candidate, but was not endorsed by the party to stand as a local councillor. 5 candidates are looking to replace Susie Ellis in Central Rural. They are Bob Blizzard, Liberal Democrats, Caroline Gladwin, Reform UK, Simon Haytack, Labour, Julia Lawson, Green Party, and Simon Richards, Conservative Party. Chillerton and Gatcombe Parish Councillor Julia Lawson said she was a firm believer in working together for the greater good. Simon Richards said, "I have the experience to get things done and ensure our voices are heard."
Service station plan to house vehicles. A service station is looking to build a large industrial building to house 3 of its most valuable heavy-duty vehicles. Mr. D. Radford of Bartlett Service Station submitted a planning application to construct a steel-framed structure to provide undercovered parking at Langbridge Business Centre near Newchurch. The family-owned island business provides 24/7 all-island coverage for vehicle recovery specialising in large vehicle recovery such as HGVs, buses and coaches, according to the Andrew White Planning Consultancy. A design, access and planning statement from Mr. Radford's agent said, "This application relates to a successful island business, providing employment for island residents and contributing to the island economy. There has been considerable investment in the building to ensure it has a fleet and equipment to meet these challenges. The business owns a large fleet of heavy-duty recovery vehicles, which are all stored outside. The undercover storage will provide protection from the elements and prolong the life of the vehicles. The Council's public consultation on the proposed finishes on May the 13th and a decision is made on May the 30th.
Man trashed ex's home by court reporter. A judge has jailed a man who threatened to burn down his ex-partner's home before trashing it and telling her he hoped she would die of cancer. Lewis Fleming of Osborne Road, Ryde, admitted to making threats to destroy property and causing criminal damage in Shanklin on December the 8th last year. He appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Friday, April the 4th. The court heard Fleming had been in a 3-year relationship with his victim. On December 7th, while on a night out, Fleming was abusive towards her in a bar. The next day, Fleming texted her saying he was done with her and her family, followed by 29 abusive phone calls. Christopher Wing, prosecuting, said among the calls Fleming warned her to get home before it went up in smoke and told her he hoped she would die of cancer and rot in hell. Fleming said he would leave the oven on full whack. He then broke into her home and trashed it, smashing a patio door and pulling down her Christmas tree. Fleming also left the oven and microwave on full power. Some of the damage being caused by Fleming was witnessed before he sped off in his car. The victim broke down when she saw the damage caused. Repairs cost nearly £1,500, and the victim came close to being evicted because of the state of disrepair Fleming left her home in. Police found Fleming in his car parked near her property, and he was arrested. Oliver Hirsch, defending, said his client had kept out of trouble for 10 years before he was convicted of drink driving in 2022. Mr. Hirsch said Fleming was remorseful and that the loss of his mother and drinking alcohol contributed to his offending behaviour. Judge David Melville jailed Fleming for 12 months. He told him, "For reasons known only to yourself, you behaved appallingly, smashing up parts of her house. What on earth makes you think you can behave like that? It was a seriously disgraceful way to behave." Fleming was also made subject to a 5-year restraining order.
Big top-style tent to host touring acts. The island is to get a new £225,000 touring venue in the form of transportable big top-style tent. Ventnor Exchange is launching the venue of this year's Ventnor Fringe, although it won't officially launch until 2026. Called the Ventnor Exchange Area, the venue will enable the arts organisation to bring an innovative programme of theatre, concert, circus, cabaret and music to islanders, including in those of more rural communities. It will be previewed at Ventnor Fringe, which will take place from July the 18th to July the 27th, and across these 10 days it will show its capability with West End performances, comedy, circus acts, music and cabaret. Among the first act will be Gorilla Circus RPM, a portrayal of the modern young male experience in Sunnyside. Creative and Development Director Jack Whitehouse said, "We hope this will be transformative for the island. A professional venue that can move between all of our towns and villages, giving every community, especially those without a theatre, an opportunity to see and host incredible live events. The capacity would range up to 1,000 people. The £225,000 has been awarded from Arts Council England's Capital Investment Programme."
Fire tragedy houses face demolition. 2 unsafe and unsightly houses on a main road could be demolished following a fatal fire. Joanne Still applied to the council for permission to demolish 2 significantly fire-damaged buildings, 54 and 56 New Road in Brading, and build a replacement property. On December the 1st, 2023, a fire started at number 56, which it went on to completely destroy before spreading next door, according to the Andrew White Planning Consultancy. The blaze resulted in the death of 60-year-old John Kent, the owner of number 56. Miss Still's proposed 2-storey house would be a redevelopment of number 54, which she owns part of. It would comprise a kitchen, dining room, lounge, hallway, utility room, 2 WCs, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. This application will see the demolition of the buildings, which will be an immediate improvement to the visual amenities of the area, the consultancy said. The future development of the neighbouring site, number 56, remains uncertain as the elderly owner tragically died in the fire and the property was not insured. However, it is necessary to demolish the entire pair for safety reasons and to enable the redevelopment of number 54. County Hall's public consultation ends on May 13th. And the decision is expected on June the 3rd.
Play park equipment signed off by council. A popular park will be upgraded with 8 new pieces of play equipment as part of an approved works scheme. Council planners gave Sandown Town Council, STC, permission to install play equipment and related impact observing surfaces at Les Altos Park. STC plans include installing an horizontal rising ladder, monkey bar rings, a balance and weave, static balance beam, striding timber stilts, stepping log columns and a chin-up bars, all of which are wooden. County Hall's decision report said the equipment was required for the recreational operation of the park, a public service administered by the Town Council. STC's application form said the area around each piece of equipment will be levelled, excavated to form foundations for the equipment and prepared for safety surfacing. Impact observing surfaces will be laid beneath all play equipment. Regardless of surfacing requirements, all equipment will have a free space of 1.5 metres around it. The land has previously been used for the same purpose, and while there is no historic planning application online, there are images of the equipment in the park, and as land owned by the local authority and operated under licence by the Town Council, it can be assumed this is an acceptable use.
New training craft for Sea Cadets. Cowes Sea Cadets have a new safety and training vessel, the Highfield Patrol 540. The boat, purchased from White Marine, is a significant upgrade from the cadets' previous smaller boat. The new vessel is set to improve training sessions with its advanced features, greater size and reliability. Cadets will now have more opportunities to learn essential boating skills, navigate challenging waters, and gain practical maritime experience. Instructor at Cowes Sea Cadets, Lucas Stopps, said, "This new boat opens up endless possibilities for our cadets. The Highfield Patrol 540 is not just a safety upgrade, it's a tool for building confidence and fostering skills that will benefit our young members for a lifetime. We're grateful for the support of White Marine in making this dream a reality." Josh McGregor, Sales Coordinator at White Marine, said, "Working with Cowes Sea Cadets to supply the Highfield Patrol 540 has been an absolute pleasure. It's inspiring to see how dedicated they are to helping young people develop their maritime knowledge and skills. Cowes Sea Cadets offer young people the chance to develop essential life skills through exciting, hands-on maritime activities."
Widespread support for Seafront Villas plan. 2 family villas will be built on Cowes Seafront, replacing a rundown eyesore. The council has given consent to Hamlet Court Regeneration Limited to redevelop Hamlet Court on Cowes Esplanade after the application received 68 letters of support from members of the public. Each villa would have a lower ground floor, a ground floor, a first floor, complete with a study, utility room, bathrooms, living room and a dining room. Supporters of the plan argued they would greatly enhance the Hamlet Court by replacing a run-down eyesore building containing flats with asbestos, damp and black mould. They also said redevelopment had been long awaited and the proposed redevelopment would fit in well with the surrounding area and buildings, providing much needed housing. Baring Road resident Richard Palmer said, The site is in a prominent location, and it is important to restore its visual appeal. The new development will bring energy-efficient homes and a fresh look to Cowes, while still respecting the character of the neighbourhood. The Council attached 20 conditions to the approval for the purposes of national legislation and Isle of Wight planning policy, land and building stability, privacy, protecting wildlife, adequate drainage, highway safety, local amenability, and maintaining the character of the Cowes conservative area.
A prolific offender who damaged a hospital's automatic entrance door was left with a hefty bill. Rhys Sullivan of Lower Furlongs, Brading, admitted causing criminal damage to the glass door at St Mary's Hospital, Newport, on October 18th last year. Sullivan appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on April the 1st. A witness who was at the hospital visiting a family member told officers that Sullivan was laying on the floor, groaning and cursing, complaining that staff had left him there. Sullivan was then seen striking the door with his elbow, causing cracks in the glass and the door to malfunction temporarily, said Lauren McCall, prosecuting. He later told police that he had thrown his elbow out recklessly after he was told to walk home by hospital staff. The 33-year-old also admitted a public order offence on October 27th. Police were called to a substantial disturbance caused by Sullivan, this time at the hospital's A&E department. He was escorted out of the building by security after appearing agitated and shouting that he was not getting any medical help. Sullivan then lunged at the officer who was trying to calm him down, Mrs. McConnell added. He was arrested after police arrived at the scene. The security officer, in his statement to the police, said Sullivan's behaviour was unpredictable and aggressive, and he feared being assaulted. Sullivan, who was previously known as Rhys Chilcott, has a criminal record that includes 31 convictions for 79 offences. He was jailed in November 2020 for 56 months for robbery and possessing a knife on December 26, 2019. His defence, Oscar Vincent, said that Sullivan's latest criminal behaviour occurred within the space of a week. He explained that Sullivan had gone to St Mary's Hospital with severe mental health issues and told them he had attempted suicide. Sullivan, currently unemployed, was detained under the Mental Health Act on the second occasion. The court heard that he is now in a stable, supportive relationship and has been clean of drugs for 29 days. Magistrates ordered Sullivan to pay the Isle of Wight NHS Trust £540 compensation, along with a £120 fine, £48 surcharge and £85 costs.
And now we're moving over to Wight memories and nostalgia. Isle of Wight little ships revisit Dunkirk. Several historic little ships of Dunkirk, built on the Isle of Wight, will return to France for the 85th anniversary of the Second World War evacuation next month. More than 70 small craft used in the 1940 evacuation will make the journey from Ramsgate in Kent to the French port between May the 21st and 26th. They will be escorted by the Royal Navy Guard of Honour. In doing so, they will recreate the journey that saw 338,000 British and Allied troops rescued as the Nazis advanced across Europe. Boat owners and members of the Association of Dunkirk Little Ships, ADLS, will make the crossings for the first time since 2015. The little ships will be accompanied by a spectacular fleet of modern craft, alongside escorts from the Navy and the RNLI. This year's crossing is particularly significant as it follows a 10-year gap due to the cancellation of the 80th anniversary in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Among the ships making the journey are the Maimond Minnehaha, Thames, MB 278 and the Cecil and Lilliput Philpott, all built in Cowes. These boats have fascinating histories and connections to the Dunkirk evacuation. MB 278, built in 1914 at J. Samuel White's, has a remarkable history spanning 2 world wars, but she almost never made it to Dunkirk. MB 278, which was renamed Machaira, but then reverted back to its original Admiralty name, was crushed in an accident in Portsmouth Dockyard in March 1940 and sank. Her hull was badly damaged, but was quickly repaired and received a new engine in time for Dunkirk. MB 278 bore the scars of her Dunkirk services after damage was found in the bow, where machine gun rounds passed through the port and starboard sights. Howard Brooks, Vice Commodore of the ADLS, owns Maimond, built by Sanders Rowe. The Maimond was a forgotten vehicle, but her role in the Dunkirk evacuation was only recently rediscovered. Maimond was requisitioned by the Royal Navy for the Dunkirk evacuation after her first summer only had 3 summers to enjoy her. She operated as a naval auxiliary armed with Lewis guns out of Ramsgate, Holehaven and Cliff on the Thames estuary.
Mr. J.R. Pierce, a previous owner, served aboard Maimond in 1940 doing convoy barrage balloon work. Nothing about the involvement of Temsa, originally named Minnehaha, in Dunkirk is known. Also built by J. Samuel White, it was found by Douglas Tough of the Teddington Boatyard of Tough Brothers in Ramsgate Harbour, with her wheelhouse badly burnt and the crew's charts still in her chart drawer. She was renamed Tigris III and was used by the yard as a tug, before being renamed again as Temsa. Temsa famously once helped the Beatles to avoid the crowds at the height of their popularity in 1964 by taking them to Thames Television Studios at Teddington on the river. Stenoa, earlier named Cecil and Lillian Philpott, was a wooden Carvel-constructed RNLI lifeboat. The New Haven lifeboat saved 51 soldiers at Dunkirk, but the mission nearly ended in disaster when she was left high and dry for 4 hours before returning on June the 3rd. In November 1940, she was rammed and nearly cut in half by HM trawler Aventurine, but she survived. Other Dunkirk little ships, also built at Cowes, include Princess Frida, Dowager, Tremilia, Betsy Jane, Louise Stevens, Abdi Beauclerk, Mary Scott and Nonta. However, they will not be taking part in Dunkirk 85, and Veer, a 1905 cruiser used in the Dunkirk rescue, was lost in a fire at Medina Village, Cowes on Jan 26, 2016. The boat was used to rescue 346 men from the beaches at Dunkirk in 1941. She was being stored at the boatyard as part of an £80,000 restoration project by the Veer Restoration Trust. The little ships of Dunkirk hold a special place in history, having played a crucial role in the rescue of British and Allied troops during the Second World War. Their return to France for the 85th anniversary commemorations will be a poignant reminder of their bravery and service.
And now we move on to my view. Thanks to a team who dealt with bomb. Always be ready for the unexpected. It's something that police officers and staff have to bear in mind every day. This was very much the case on the island recently. A routine Saturday morning at Newport Police Station took an unexpected turn when a member of the public in good faith handed in what they believed to be an unexploded ordnance to our front counter staff. They wanted to make sure it was disposed of safely. It's not unheard of to find unexploded ordnance relating to World War II or similar on the island. Indeed, recent incidents have led to items washing up or being found during excavation in gardens. In these circumstances, we attend with specialist officers, ensure a suitable cordon is put in place to maintain public safety, and then dispose of the item once it is made safe to do so. What's significantly more unusual for an item like this is to be brought into a police building for disposal. I must take the opportunity to thank the officers and staff that dealt with this set of circumstance so efficiently to maintain the safety of the public in the surrounding area of Newport. The building was evacuated swiftly. Teams were moved to other police buildings on the island to maintain our ability to respond to calls for service from residents, and our partners rallied around to assist in the response. Island Roads and the Isle of Wight Council in particular ensured that the cordoned off area and associated road closures were advertised quickly to update people who may have been out shopping alongside our own social media messaging. We carry out regular exercises for a variety of circumstances and major incidents. This incident demonstrates why it is so important to do so, and the response on that Saturday morning is testament to the training and dedication of our officers on the island who dealt so effectively with the circumstances. While some members of the community may have wondered whether it was a false alarm, the assessment of the experts that attended indicated that it was an object you would not have wanted to have dropped, underlining why the quick response was so important. So please, like us, always be ready for the unexpected. If you're gardening or on the shoreline and find an object that you have concerned about, it's important not to move it or let animals disturb it. Take a photo with your phone, call us on 999, and we'll do the rest to ensure that it's dealt with appropriately in situ.
It's good to talk, so here's how to reach me from Richard Quigley, MP for Isle of Wight West. It's my favourite part of being an MP, yet it always amazes me how many people are put off by the spectacle of some aspects of our system, but still speak passionately about the things that matter to them, whether it's climate change, sewage, send, jobs or transport. They might not care much for the drama of the Westminster bubble, but they absolutely care about positive change in their communities, which I'm working hard to deliver. The best way for me to champion the island in Westminster is being able to represent my constituents by sharing their stories and fighting for improved outcomes. One constituent recently told me about their issues with universal credit and how, as a single parent, it actually disincentivises them from working more hours, despite wanting to. I took that first-hand account and brief they'd prepared with me to number 10. Now, I can't pretend I have regular access to the PM or Cabinet, but I do make myself accessible to constituents. I already host in-person surgery appointments, post regular updates on Facebook, as well as my website www.richardquigley.org.uk. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Richard Quigley MP. Or those of you who remember the BT advert and agree it's good to talk can always call the office on 01983 244 980.
And now we go move on to what's on. And on Saturday, there's Easter fireworks extravaganza at 8:30 in Sandown Carnival's spectacular seafront display on Easter Saturday Esplanade. And Rabbits Out of the Hat is a whimsical play about a magic show full of all ages, fun for all ages rather, by turns amazing, inspiring and comical. You've never seen a show quite like it at the Key Arts, 15 C Street, Newport box office.
Events taking place on Saturday 26th of April, the BHS plant sale from 10 a.m. at Wilberforce Hall, Brystone. 3 Island Choirs in Harmony are at Newport Minster, 7 p.m. The cost is £15. The 3 choirs are combining to present a unique evening of choral music. Ave Vita, Bride Chorus and Salutaris will perform Gloria by Antonio Vivaldi and Messa di Gloria by Giacomo Puccini. At Medina, also on Saturday 26th of April, 7:30 p.m, £30.50, The Magic of the Beatles. Come together right now for this sensational Magic of the Beatles at One Leisure Medina Theatre, Fairley Road, Newport. Or telephone 01983 823 884.
Throwback to sitcom classic. Ireland drag star Quivers will play Frank Spencer in a stage adaptation of popular 70s sitcom Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. The stage show, presented by Horsebox Theatre at Department in Ryde, will see Quivers play the accident-prone character alongside Ailey Wan as his wife Betty. The show follows Betty as she tries to break the news of her pregnancy to Frank, battling against his obsession with becoming a famous magician. The case includes Selwyn Horton, Joan Plum, Caroline Reed and Fizz Lewis Malcolm. Some Mothers Do Have 'Em was created by Islander Ray Allen. Quivers said, "Frank is such a thrilling role to step into. A try-it-all, camp, clumsy man who some might find jarring. Talk about typecast. But I adore him. It's such a privilege to play a character so beautifully created by an island legend and personal hero, Uncle Ray. I just hope I can do him justice." Joe Plum, artistic director, said Ray Allen was a true champion of island theatre. Bringing his smash hit show back to Ryde, the town he called home, feels like the perfect way to celebrate his incredible legacy. Catch the performance on Wednesdays, April the 16th, April the 23rd, April the 30th and May the 7th at 8 p.m.
All on board for Isle of Wight Armed Forces Day. Isle of Wight Armed Forces Day, a popular seaside event, will return this summer, paying tribute to our dedicated forces community. The event will once again take place beachside at Eastern Gardens in Ryde, building on the success of last year, which featured a display by the Red Arrows. While organisers have kept some surprises under wraps, several thrilling attractions have already been confirmed for Sunday, June the 29th. Attendees can look forward to cannon and musket demonstrations and a marching parade featuring 4 bands and over 100 cadets. One attraction making a welcome return is the Army Air Corps Gazelle helicopter, where visitors will have the unique opportunity to step inside the cockpit and handle the controls. There is no word yet on whether the Red Arrows will return this summer. Event organiser Councillor Ian Dorr said, "As we progress, more attendees will be announced, and it's shaping up to be colossal." Last year's attendance was just shy of 10,000 people, making it the second most attended single-day event on the island, after the Isle of Wight Festival. Mark your calendars, it's going to be one of the must-attend events of the summer.
Wraps off White Prom's lineup. White Prom's Festival has announced its lineup for this year's event. Strictly Come Dancing Giovanni Pernice, British comedy trio Fascinating Ida, and Celebrity Master Chief winner Mr. Go Compare himself, Win Evans, are among those on the bill. The latter will be joined by a special guest in G4's Mike Christie, the festival founder, and who will be singing Walk the White with you alongside a full orchestra. The Boutique Open Air Festival celebrates comedy, opera, drag, country music, dance and classical proms, and takes place annually in August at Northwood House in Cowes. On the first night, this year's tickets are being sold exclusively through the Price is Right. Also on the lineup this year is musical theatre legend Lee Mead, who won BBC One's Any Dream Will Do, and who has countless West End credits, including Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor, Dreamcoat, Miss Saigon, Wicked, Chicago, and We Will Rock You, and Sister Act. He will be joined by leading lady Kelly Matheson as a special guest, who has also starred in numerous West End shows, including The Phantom of the Opera, Into the Woods, and South Pacific. Back by popular demand this year is an evening of the country music with Dolly Parton, the world's best Dolly tribute, and Europe's leading Kenny Rogers. There will even be a new twist this year with the addition of Dolly Bingo and line dancing. The event will also have musical theatre workshops for children aged between 7 and 18, and participants will get to perform on the main stage at the White at the Musicals show on Saturday, alongside Lee Mead. The event runs between August the 12th and 17th. Meet and greet tickets available to have the chance to re-engage with some of the festival's headliners. A spokesperson for the event said, "We are delighted to continue our relationship with Associated Island charity Independent Arts, who use the arts to improve well-being, quality of life, and reduce social isolation on the Isle of Wight. Last year, over 10,000 £10,000 were raised for the charity."
Legendary 70s pop rock band hit town. Iconic Scottish pop rock band the Bay City Rollers will perform at Strings Bar and Venue in Newport on September 14th. Tickets go on sale today, Friday, at 10 a.m. The announcement comes after the band reformed with original guitarist Stuart "Woody" Wood taking the helm. New band members have stepped up to bring the essence of what was once gone back to the general public. Alongside Woody, Ian Thompson will partner him on guitar, whilst also being lead vocalist. Jamie McGrory will be on drums, John McLaughlin on vocals and keys, with Mikey Smith on bass guitar. The band came into the public eye during the 1970s, where they debuted their first hit, Keep On Dancing, and have since sold 300 million albums. Notably, their hit single, Bye Bye Baby, was the best-selling UK single in 1975.
And so now we move on to letters, and this letter is from Dean Francis of Northwood. On Monday, planners approved a greenfield site in Northwood for housing development. This was a second application after the first lapsed. Both times there were numerous objections from individuals, local councils and other parties. These objections are heavily weighed towards the evidence of long and unrestricted public use of this field with its right-of-way and what the loss of such amenity will mean to the established community. Two things make this field development particularly concerning. It is the setting for definitive math footpath CS14, and it is a rare piece of open space in its community. CS14, as it has been known since 1952, was first surveyed as an existing landscape feature in 1793, meaning it's over 232 years old. It remains on the same course mapped by the Ordnance Survey time and again until today. But not for much longer. This path was mapped as part of an effort to improve military readiness across the south of England and a response to a feared Napoleonic-era invasion force, and it remains in regular use today. Its long history ends when its field setting is bisected and diverted to become just another roadside footpath through housing. This is not so minor a diversion so as to be inconsequential to CS14 overall, but it is so dominant that it is wholly destructive of the course and nature of both path and setting. The documented evidence is that this footpath and its whole field setting have been in regular public use without objection or restriction for many decades, making its development tantamount to building over a public park. The 221 Cowes and Northwood Place plan emphasised a significant deficit of accessible public open space in Northwood, contrasting with its rural setting. The granting of this application presents a direction on the part of planners to consider open space and footpath access as integral to communities despite lip service policy making on issues of health, well-being and the benefit of open spaces produced in abundance at public expense by County Hall.
Common Sense from Dr. Emma Sainsbury, non-medical, Freshwater. As an unpaid carer for my mother, who is nearly 100 years old and requires round-the-clock support, I was pleased to see she was naturally invited for her spring COVID jab. What concerns me, however, is that unpaid carers like myself are not offered the same protection, despite the critical role we play in keeping vulnerable people safe at home. My mother has been assessed as needing 2 carers, but I have been looking after her on my own for over 12 years, without a single day off, except when I was hospitalised with COVID a few years ago. At that time, I had no choice but to quickly employ 2 carers to provide in-home care, as formal social care wasn't an immediate option. If I were to fall seriously ill again and couldn't afford to arrange emergency care, the state would have no choice but to step in, likely at great expense. A week of residential care would cost thousands, whereas offering a preventative COVID jab to unpaid carers would cost a fraction of that. During the pandemic, unpaid carers became more visible, finally acknowledged for the essential work we do quietly every day. But now that visibility seems to have faded, and it's deeply saddening. We continue to carry the same responsibilities, yet the recognition and support have waned. It simply doesn't make economic sense to exclude unpaid carers from vaccination, especially when the consequences of us becoming unwell could have such a ripple effect, not only emotionally and practically, but financially for the care system too. I respectfully urge policymakers to reconsider this policy. Offering COVID jabs to unpaid carers who want them isn't just compassionate, it's common sense.
And this one is from Ian McKee of Totland. While Councillor Andre has called for a feasibility study into a fixed link, she has clearly not considered the fact that such a project would require popular and political acquisition approval from the mainland, where the point of entry-exit would be sited. Given the huge disruption to the build, the vast cost of a relief road, and the resultant increase in traffic air pollution once it is built, there is almost zero chance of Portsmouth or Southampton or Lymington authorities ever green-lighting such a scheme.
Frustration from Carl Hunter of Ventnor. For 18 months, Bath Road in Ventnor, one of only 2 roads that lead down to the seafront, has been closed by Island Roads due to a breach in a roadside wall that caused debris to spill onto the highway. With no date set for repairs or removal of the debris, business owners and the community are increasingly fed up with the lack of action and concerned they may be facing another summer season with Bath Road remaining closed. In light of these frustrations, and with a few other volunteers, I attempted to clear the road. However, before we could complete the task, as expected, a council employee arrived, and although sympathetic, informed me we did not have a permit to work on the road. Following this, the council and Island Roads issued a joint statement. The closure of Bath Road followed the collapse of a private wall, and it is the responsibility of that private landowner to make the required repairs. But is this correct? It will be for a court to decide who is responsible for the wall. We have been led to believe the landowner is being taken to court. The council is currently engaged in legal action to secure repairs, which is delaying the ability to reopen this route in the town. In actual fact, the landowner is taking Island Roads to court. He is appealing to revoke a formal notice served against him by Island Roads on April the 8th, 2024, to make repairs under Section 167 of the Highway Act 1980. The landowner's appeal, lodged on April 22nd, 2024, supports an argument that the wall was built by the council or its predecessors long after the property above was built, suggesting it is the council's responsibility to repair it. As yet there is still no court date set. The handling of Bath Road has highlighted a bigger issue. Island Roads is not considering the impact on the community and local businesses in their decision-making processes. A solution should have been implemented to keep the road open. It is Island Road's view that even if debris was cleared away, there remains a risk of a further collapse. I have been working with Ventnor businessman David Grucock, a member of Keep Ventnor Moving, and Paul Reilly, an independent structural engineer from PTR Consulting Engineers, to mitigate Island Road's position and construct a temporary solution to get Bath Road reopened. Mr. Reilly drafted a report that detailed a temporary solution to brace the breach from further collapse at a cost of £9,500 plus VAT. Some might say a sizable sum, but the likely economic benefit to local businesses, especially those along the front, will by far outweigh the cost. I would urge the Council and Island Roads to take up this relatively inexpensive solution for the economic benefit to Ventnor in these financially difficult times.
Awful April. Paul Knocker of Bembridge. I was not surprised to read about the protests in Newport about the increases in energy costs. This was in the county press the 4th and 4th of this year. Only that it has not spread across the country, although Alan Burgess is quite wrong with his statement about the government protecting the millionaires. The BBC spent quite a lot of time at the beginning of this month covering Awful April, with the impact of the budget increases in council, tax, water bills, and the announcement by Ofgem about energy bills going up again. The BBC, like the rest of the MSN, failed to mention that Britain was already paying the highest energy costs in the developed world, which has had a serious impact on every business. The management of hospitals, schools and care homes, with 6 to 1 million homes already suffering fuel poverty. The International Energy Agency published data for 2024 covering the comparable cost of 1 kilowatt of industrial energy, the US 6.5%, France 18%, and the UK 26%. 26p%, they're all p's. Green levies are not helping. There is a strong link between the energy cost and the potential for economic growth, claimed to be the obvious priority of every government. Successful governments and a long list of energy ministers over the past decade have failed to develop or implement a strategic plan for UK energy security at the lowest cost. They also created Ofgem, which has failed in its duty to protect consumers.
Struggling to sell my house, but that's a good thing, from Imogen Chew, columnist. We're just like the mainland now, said the estate agent sitting on my living room sofa. There aren't any second home owners looking anymore, so we're just waiting for a first-time buyer. Bizarrely, this statement was both music and fingernails on a chalkboard to my ears. On one hand, my husband and I are trying to sell our house, somewhat unsuccessfully. The small property is only really suitable for first-time buyers, and the latest data tells me that the number of first-time buyers in the market is at a 10-year low. So without a down from Londoner searching for a bolt hole in Cowes, our market has shrunk. On the other hand, a smaller second homes market and a correction in house prices is something I've been hoping for in recent years. I've always thought that there was truth in the idea that second homes push up the cost of housing for locals. More demand equals higher prices, especially if the extra demand is coming from investors who are able to buy quickly and in cash. As a tourist spot, the Isle of Wight has typically had a higher proportion of second home owners. According to Hamptons, the estate agent, about 7% of the properties bought in 2022 on the Isle of Wight were bought as second homes. This is way above the average for the South East, 1.5%, and higher than other holiday hotspots like Pembrokeshire and Brighton and Hove. But from the start of this month, second homes on the island are subject to 100% council tax premium. Rates of council tax vary, but some second home owners could be charged nearly £9,500 a year. Other areas have made similar stands. Last year, residents in Whitby, North Yorkshire, voted to ban any new build being sold as a second home or holiday let. Councils in Wales can now cap the number of second homes in their area. And now I'm seeing exactly what I'd hoped for, albeit at my own personal expense. House prices fell by 0.5% in March, and while it doesn't sound like much, it follows years of fiery house price growth. This is partly down to higher interest rates and a general lack of economic confidence, but the fact that second home owners have been spooked hasn't helped. This trend is certainly true of the island too. Properties on the market are continually being reduced. Our asking price, for example, has dropped by about 6%, and local first-time buyers are reaping the benefits by low-balling desperate sellers. Our estate agent described them as unicorns, as they are so rare. So while it pains me to say it, the fact that I'm struggling to sell my house is probably, on balance, a good thing. If I put the political above the personal, house prices are moving in the right direction, and it's young islanders that will feel the benefit.
And with that, both of us will say goodbye to you. Goodbye to Imelda. Enjoy the nice weather while it lasts.
And it's goodbye from John. The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the Scaffolding News follows that. Scaffolding and Skips News, week commencing 11th of April 2025.
For the Newport area, Fabian Barber's Shop, Pyle Street, Guildhall, Quayside, Quay Street.
For the Ryde area, Castle Street, Watson Bull and Porter, 9 High Street, 87 High Street, Merry & Co, 73 High Street, 35 High Street, Bembridge. Ryde area skips, The Lodge, Fairy Road, Seaview, 5 Ribelow Street, 75 High Street.
In the Cowes area, Granville Road, the Royal Yacht Squadron, and in the Cowes area skips, 39 Newport Road.
Ventnor area, Church Street. Ventnor area skips, Shore Road Car Park and 48 Trinity Road.
Sandown area, Premier Inn, 1-9 Esplanade. Sandown area skips, Station Avenue.
This is Michael reading an article from Island Echo. East Wight MP Joe Robertson launches Ryde Business Forum. Joe Robertson, MP, has launched a new business forum for Ryde in order to better connect local business with each other and local decision makers. The new forum does not seek to replace other organisations in Ryde, the MP says, but help support engagement with other bodies like the Isle of Wight Council and the Ryde Neighbourhood Board, which is set to distribute £20 million of public money over the next 7 to 10 years. Mr. Robertson is keen to engage with local businesses to hear about the challenges that they are facing so that he can better fight their corner in Parliament. April is traditionally a challenging time, with the end of the tax year and annual increases in bills. This April will see a combination of the government's increase in national insurance for employers, increases in stamp duty, increases in the minimum wage, and increase in water and energy bills. The MP Forum event will be held from 1700 to 1900 on Tuesday the 15th of April in the Royal Victoria Arcade and is open to all Ryde business people. Joe Robertson, MP, says, "I am delighted to be launching the new Ryde MP Business Forum to help better support businesses in Ryde. I have asked John McLagan of Victoria Arcade to chair it. Local businesses are the backbone of our community, and this forum will provide a dedicated space to share concerns, explore opportunities, and work together to strengthen our local economy and community ties. There are lots of opportunities for Ryde in the next few years, not least millions of pounds to be distributed by Ryde Neighbourhood Board. I want to help ensure that we make the best of those opportunities and ensure they are not wasted. Local voices must guide the town's regeneration."
Shanklin area, 1C Steep Hill Road and 12 Eastcliff Road.
This is Petrina reading from the Island Echo. Government investment to bring an additional 9 electric buses to the Isle of Wight. Southern Vectis, in partnership with the Isle of Wight Council, has successfully secured Department for Transport investment for a further 9 double-decker electric buses on the Isle of Wight. The Department for Transport, DFT, had previously awarded funding from its Zero Emissions Bus Regional Area scheme to bring 22 new electric buses to the island. This project, which includes the purchase of the electric buses and the installation of the electric charging infrastructure at Southern Vectis Depot, is well underway and is scheduled to begin in 2026. The 9 extra double-decker electric buses announced this week will mainly be used on routes 4, 8 and 37, which operate in Ryde and link the town with East Cowes, Seaview, Bembridge, St Helens, Sandown and Newport. They're expected to begin operations in 2026, and the successful bid, which is worth more than £4.4 million, also includes a further 5 additional chargers, with 10 additional charging points at the Newport depot. The project to provide the extra buses is expected to cost around £3.8 million, with both Southern Vectis and the Isle of Wight Council contributing the additional funds. Andrew Wickham, Managing Director of Southern Vectis, has said, "This is excellent news for the Isle of Wight, and it will further drive our mission to put the island right at the forefront of sustainable transport. These new buses will help to improve air quality here and reduce carbon emissions, while also giving passengers modern, high-quality buses for their journeys. The additional joint investment is testament to the excellent relationships we have with Isle of Wight Council, and we will continue to work together to ensure the Isle of Wight's buses network remains the envy of other areas of the United Kingdom." Stuart Chandler, the Isle of Wight Council's Transport Strategy Manager, added, "I am delighted that electric buses will be landing on our island soon. The arrival of zero-emission buses is a big step in reducing carbon emissions from transport as we work hard to address the climate crisis." The support that Southern Vectis has shown for this project demonstrates the excellent working relationships we have with the bus operator and how working together can help achieve the very best for the island.
Ordnance survey books released for Isle of Wight walking enthusiasts from the Island Echo, read by Lee. 2 books have been published by Ordnance Survey with the needs of Isle of Wight ramblers in mind. Short Walks Made Easy Isle of Wight is a book specifically written for those with little walking experience, the less able, or anyone short on time. It features 10 leisurely walks ranging from 2.5 to 5 miles. The routes inside are a comfortable way to pick and choose a stroll to the finest viewpoints and historical locations the area has to offer, whether it be the grassy slopes and chalk cliffs of Tennyson Down, the serene beauty of God's Hill, or the spectacular views up on Blackgang. The 80 pages are packed with essential information detailing public transport, parking, amenities, places to eat and drink, nature notes, and the stories behind each walk. Nick Giles, Managing Director for Leisure at Ordnance Survey, said, "Short Walks Made Easy is perfect for anyone with little or no walking experience and busy families who don't want to spend the entire day out on a hike. It's a fantastic way of making the outdoors accessible to everyone." The walks in this book are always between 2.5 and 5 miles, with very little or no steep gradients to overcome. Many are ideal for taking dogs out too. The book takes the hassle out of planning routes yourself. Just follow the instructions and you're guaranteed a rewarding trip out discovering the beautiful countryside each time you use it. For walkers who want something more challenging, the new OS Outstanding Circular Walks features 28 circular walks around the island, which are longer in length, ranging between 3 and 14 miles. Each of these routes have been meticulously researched and make use of the Isle of Wight's excellent network of 500 miles of footpaths and bridleways. All walks are accompanied by clear, large-scale Ordnance Survey route maps and GPS references for all waypoints, ensuring easy navigation. Nick added, "This new guide to the Isle of Wight replaces the old Pathfinder Short Walks book. It contains a much more comprehensive selection of walks, from the Needles to Bembridge and from Ryde to St Catherine's Point. There's something for everyone in this book. That's why we've arranged the walks in the book by completion time. There are 12 shorter and easier routes in the first green chapter, between 3 and 5 miles, progressing through to 9 half-day blue walks up to 7.5 miles, and finishing with 7 longer outings in the orange chapter for the true hiking lovers that go up to 14 miles long. The Outstanding Circular Walks has been written by expert author Fiona Balthrop. Short Walks Made Easy, Isle of Wight, is priced at £8.99, and Outstanding Circular Walks Isle of Wight is priced at £12.99. Both are now available from the OS shop.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight and Portsmouth NHS workers set to be hit by 800 job cut proposal as organisation seeks to save money. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust has reacted to news that around 800 jobs on the island and in Portsmouth are set to be axed imminently. The Isle of Wight Trust, IWT, and Portsmouth Hospitals University Trust, PHU, reportedly need to cut their combined workforce by 798 whole-time equivalent roles as part of measures to achieve the group's 2025 to 26 savings targets. The news was revealed via recently released board papers. An Isle of Wight NHS Trust and Portsmouth Hospitals University NHS Trust spokesman said, "We have a responsibility to provide high-quality care within our financial resources. Last year, we achieved significant improvements across finance and performance through management of our temporary staff and transforming our corporate services. We need to further tighten our controls on temporary workforce and recruitment activity, as well as seeking further opportunities to transform how we deliver within each organisation and at scale across our group and the Hampshire and Isle of Wight system."
This is Patrina reading from Isle of Wight Radio. New public toilets in Ryde Town Centre. Ryde Town Council are delighted to announce a brand new partnership with Department in order to provide much needed public toilet facilities in the heart of the town. Department have offered to open their toilets to the public, and Ryde Town Council will provide the daily cleaning services. The toilets will initially be open Tuesday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m, which will extend to 6 days a week in high season, Tuesdays to Sunday. Access to the toilets is via the department's side entrance, which can be reached through the Co-op car park or via the alleyway in Cross Street. There are accessible toilets on both the ground floor and on the first floor next to the cafe. Ryde Town Council's clerk Lisa Dyer says, "Huge thanks really must go to the department. This partnership is a wonderful example of collaborative working, and we were excited when the team at department first mentioned the idea. Thanks to them, Ryde will have full accessibility toilets and they will be serviced by our cleaning team. It really is a win-win, especially for the town centre." Department's Sharon George says, "Shademakers are delighted to work with Ryde Town Council to open our toilets to the public as part of our commitment to being a safe, welcoming space for the whole community in the heart of the High Street. Whether you're popping in to use one of our loos, taking part in one of our workshops, seeing a show, visiting the exhibition, checking out our shop or going to the cafe, Department is a space for everyone."
Major housing development given green light despite 24 objections from the Isle of Wight Radio, read by Lee. A 27-unit housing development will be built on a greenfield site next to an Isle of Wight village, despite 24 objections and opposition from 2 local councils. County Hall gave Robert Gordon of White and West Country Developments permission to construct 27 homes to the south of Pallants Road, along with an access from Northwood's Harry Cheek Gardens. Mr. Gordon's agent, the Andrew White Planning Consultancy, previously described the application as a significant contribution to housing supply, with the proposed units designed to a high quality and including a range of types and sizes. In a report explaining the approval, the council said the development featured 9 homes for affordable rent, roughly 35% of the proposed total and in line with island planning policy requirements. It is considered that the application site is within a sustainable location for new housing development, the document stated. In addition, it is considered that the proposed housing will provide a suitable level of accommodation and that an acceptable level of on-site affordable housing will be provided as agreed by legal agreement. The proposed housing would change the rural character of the immediate area by introducing an extension to the built area of Northwood. However, it is considered that the change to the landscape would be within a discrete area that is not prominent. The Council's ecology officer has advised that the site is of limited ecology value due to the regular flailing of hedgerows and because the field is currently of species-poor grassland. 19 conditions were attached to the permission, with aims including adequate drainage, reducing flooding risk, protecting the environment and water quality, maintaining the area's amenity and character, and ensuring privacy for neighbours. Those opposed to the application include Cowes Town Council, Northwood Parish Council, the Campaign to Protect Rural England's Isle of Wight branch, or CPRE, and members of the public. Concern was voiced over a wide range of issues including sewage, the development being outside of a settlement boundary, and having adverse visual impacts, serious negative effects on the area's highway network and local services lacking capacity. Opponents also expressed disquiet relating to noise and pollution, overdevelopment, and the loss of a walking route. Edward Nicholson, chair of CPRE Isle of Wight, previously said the applicant had not demonstrated how the scheme will enhance the character and appearance of the area.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
Hello. Today we're focusing on the life of one of the great blind all-rounders, historian, author, sportsman, and most significantly for In Touch listeners, ardent campaigner on behalf of blind and partially sighted people, Dr. Fred Reid, who died a few days ago after a short illness. Fred, as we all knew him, was also a regular contributor to this programme. Most of today's story will be told by Fred in his own words, alongside his wife of almost 60 years, Etta. But first, a couple of the people who worked with him and knew him well. First, Professor Ian Bruce, who was Director General of the RNIB between 1983 and 2003 and worked alongside Fred at a time when the attempts to get better financial provision for blind people were at their height.
I think for me, Fred, above all, was a kind and a fair man, but he certainly spoke as he saw things. He was very much a gifted leader of blind people, and I think what everyone would agree, he had a formidable intellect, which he applied both strategic and tactically. In the late 60s and early 70s, RNIB faced him as a formidable negotiator, increasing the proportion of representatives, blind people, in RNIB's Executive Council. And then that allowed him from then on to concentrate as a constructive elected member of the RNIB governing body. And that's indeed how I met him. I arrived as the chief exec of RNIB as a relative newcomer in the world of blindness and partial sight. And he immediately invited me to come and stay with Etta and 3 teenage children to see how blind parents of sighted children lived. And you can see that's an example of his kindness, inviting me there, and his thoughtfulness, because obviously it was strategically quite advantageous for him, because he had me for 48 hours to brief me and guide me on what he thought I should be doing in my job. And it formed really almost the basis of our friendship, which lasted over 40 years. I shall miss him. He's a man of great charm, and I just hope I can be like he was as he drew to the end of his life.
Ian Bruce. But alongside Fred's campaigning was his busy working life as a historian and administrator at the University of Warwick. Professor Chris Reid knew him for most of that time and is now completing Fred's autobiography.
The thing about Fred is he wasn't a big guy in terms of stature, but he was an enormous presence. I think he was one of the most well-known people around the campus. He managed to conduct a career in which he made absolutely no allowances to himself for his blindness and was able to excel in all the areas that academics do. He did first-rate research. He was an extremely popular teacher, and he threw himself into management, which, of course, is something some of us would consider semi-suicidal anyway. It was just extraordinary how he managed to deal with all these things. History is about reading. It's about reading, and doing even more reading. You've got archives, you've got secondary sources, you've got books, you've got journals. He had an endless number of extremely willing volunteers who would record items for him. The technology in those days was basically cassettes, and his room was absolutely awash with cassettes. How he even managed to keep control of where they all were, I don't know. He used Braille a lot for himself as well, of course, in addition to that. But he was also very appreciative of the new technologies coming in right until the end. And he was writing his memoirs, as you may know. I mean, as late as January, he and I were having our regular fortnightly meeting of tea and cakes and all the rest of it, with no idea of what was to come.
Professor Chris Reed. But to get the story from the man himself, I sat down with Fred and his wife Etta, also blind, back in 2018. What followed was a delightful insight, not only into Fred's work, but their life together, the family.
I recall being taken into the Latin class at the Royal Blind School in 1952, wasn't it, Etta?
Yes, I think it was 52.
That's right. I'd never done Latin before, so I had some catching up to do. So the teacher asked me to come and sit at the front. And behind me there was this girl that I thought had a very nice voice, and I rather fancied her. And I thought, oh, I must get to know her.
And how old were you then? You were both...
Just going on 15.
Right. And what did you think of him, Etta?
Well, to begin with, I thought he had a very strange voice. I mean, I was a Glaswegian as well. But he kind of...
I talked down my nose, in that Glasgow way at that time.
Well, he was, not very nice.
That will be intriguing to people who will think, blind people, surely they must go on The Voice. That would be very...
Yeah, that's right, you do go on The Voice to begin with. Yeah. But then I discovered that he was very interesting. And the Latin teacher went away on a course, so every time we were supposed to have Latin, Fred and I talked all the time. Talk. And to begin with, he was speaking about the anatomy of the eye because he had recently gone blind. He had detached retina. And of course, I'd been blinded in a road accident, but I didn't know anything about the anatomy of the eye.
It's not very romantic stuff, this, is it?
No.
That came later. I won't tell you too much about that.
This was in the classroom.
Right, you had to keep it clean in the classroom.
That's right,
yeah.
That was it.
Tell me a bit about the school, because you were at the Edinburgh Blind School. What was that like?
Well, it was a very Victorian institution. You know, the Victorian society was far from dead in Britain in general, but especially in Scotland. And you just were not allowed to get at all close to one another. The rule was you can talk, but you can't touch. And Etta used to sing to me, please keep your distance, 6 feet is your distance, because you know my resistance is low.
That was a bit of a come on, Etta, wasn't it?
No, not really.
But of course, we found ways of subverting the rules and the attempts to keep us all apart. We had dancing, we could get together in the library. That's where we first actually clicked. It was in one of the library sessions, I remember. But as I say, it was very much on the basis that you could talk. But if you were seen in making any kind of amorous advance, you were up on the carpet the next day, and by God, you got it hot.
And obviously that was partly because they were kind of afraid, presumably, of what might happen. But was there also this sense of blind people, you know, it not being a good idea, even in the long term, for them to get together?
Oh, yes. I mean, I was always being lectured by the head, and one of his lines was, the most important decision, Reed, that you will take in your life as a girl, you should marry. And I would hate you to have to be committed to marrying a blind girl. It was made very clear to you that that was not in your best interest. And I just thought it was daft. I couldn't see the point of it.
We talked about headmasters' disapproval. Well, what about your families? Etta, what about you?
Well...
Have I hit a nerve?
My father used to come every week and take me out. And he'd take me out for tea and buy me all sorts of nice things and all that. And he didn't like the idea that I was going with this person who was rather left-wing.
Oh, so it wasn't his blindness, it was his politics.
No, it was being left-wing. Talking about the Communist Party.
Yeah.
And no, he didn't like that.
Yes, my parents were both communists, you see, and I was very outspoken and at that time believed I was a communist, though I never actually joined the Communist Party. Your parents were relatively relaxed. I mean, you know, they knew about me. I couldn't possibly have told my mother that I had a girlfriend at the Royal Blind School. She was absolutely neurotic. I mean, the one thing that really, she was desperate for me to get back into education. And she did a very good job about fighting my corner in that respect. But the one thing that she did not like about the Royal Blind School was it was co-educational. And she dreaded that I might get in cahoots with a blind girl. And when she discovered that we had got together when we were about 20, she was furious. And I had a battle for 9 months with her over it. And finally she gave in because she saw there was nothing she could do about it.
What with jobs and a growing family, I mean, people, you could easily have settled for that. Most people would have thought that was more than enough for two blind people to cope with. Instead of which, you were both very active, read in national campaigns, both of you with the Readers' Service here in Kenilworth. What was driving you, do you think?
What happened there was that Ted Herbert, a wonderful person in Kenilworth, ran the Coventry Careers Guidance Service, and he rang my doorbell one night. I didn't know him at that time. He rang my doorbell and he said, I've got a young chap who is trying to get into employment and I think it would help him if he had some voluntary work. I wonder if he'd come and read for you. And I said, well, Ted, to be honest, I've got as many readers as I can possibly cope with. And then a little light went on in my head and I said to him, but I tell you, there's an idea I've often had that a lot of people need things read to them other than academic things. And it would be just wonderful if there was some service that people could plug into and get a reader on demand, you know, to read their electric bills or their gas bills or birthday cards, postcards, whatever. I mean, Etta remembers and tells this wonderful illustrative story. You remember in Oxford, Etta?
Mrs. Lambert, yes. The landlady. Yes. Now, I think we'd only been there for a few days, and I came back from work, and she said, well, there's a postcard for you. I noticed it was from Edinburgh. I haven't read it. I've just put it on the hall table. And I said, well, I thought to myself, well, there can't be much on a postcard. So I said, oh, yeah, well, could you please read it to me, Mrs. Lambert? Oh, yes. Sorry to hear you are having to pay such an extortionate rent. And she nearly exploded. I don't think you're paying an extortionate rent. And mind you, it was only £5 a week. And I don't really think, looking back on it, that it was an extortionate rent.
And it's the whole thing about privacy, isn't it? Basically,
yes,
you need your privacy.
Exactly. And it was a new, we didn't think of this at the time, but looking back on it, it was a new concept of voluntary action, because instead of a voluntary organisation saying, this is what we do for you and this is what you can have, we were saying, tell us what you want, tell us when you need a reader, what time you want a reader, and we'll provide the reader at the time that's convenient to you.
Yeah.
I mean, voluntary action has moved in that direction ever since, it seems to me. You now get trained with a guide dog from your home. You don't have to go to the guide dog centre.
And it's still running, isn't it? It's
still running,
it's
yeah.
Still running.
Yeah, it's still running here in Kenilworth, yeah.
Fred, you've said, of all the things you've done, family is still absolutely crucial to you. Let's just get a sense of that. What was your house like with 3 young kids growing up?
Well, Etta, I really have to say, she just was wonderful the way she took to running her house. She's a great organiser, a great administrator, always has been. So was her mother, incidentally, it's genetic. But it didn't faze her that she had 3 children under 16 months.
Because you had twins.
We had twins a second time, that's right. And she just got on with it. We rolled up our sleeves. I mean, although I was very busy in the first couple of years as a university lecturer, you're frantically preparing lectures all the time, and you don't have a lot of spare time. But I had enough spare time to help a bit. And I used to make up 12 bottles every night so that Etta could feed the children right through the following day. And then Etta, she invented a way of going out with the children, with the twins, in their twin pushchair.
Well, the guide dog was guiding me along. And
you pulled the pushchair behind you, didn't you?
Me. Yes.
But the point is, the guide dog trainers had told you that you shouldn't do that. It couldn't be done, they said. And you
I just
did it.
But no, we were fortunate that we bought the house, which was in a nice quiet area.
Mm-hmm.
Although there were local shops very near, and I could go there with the twin pram. And Gavin, the little boy who was walking, he was ever so good. He kept beside me. He never ever tried to run away or anything like that.
Did they try and put one over on you as they got older? I mean, I've had kids as well, so I know.
I don't think seriously, no. I mean, Julie's told stories about how, they'd get a Milky Bar and put it in the shopping trolley without mum knowing and things like that. Little things like that. And Netta told the story about how she'd say to Julie, bring out the door to school, and Netta would say, "You got your coat on, Julie?" "Yes, mum, I've got my coat on," and shut the door quickly before mum could come and feel.
No, I sometimes, and this is when she was a bit older, by the way, this is when she was in secondary school. And she would come with the coat on, and then she would say, "Oh, I'm just going back for something." And I knew that she was putting the coat back on the banister. and I said, "Well, all right, hell mend you then. If you get a bad cold, I won't be staying off work to look after you."
Yeah, that's right.
It's one of those things, I mean, sometimes people think very odd things about blind people, but one of the things that people are always amazed about when I talk to them is about couples who have, blind couples who have kids. They just don't seem to be able to get their heads round it. Do you understand that, Etta?
No.
I don't either.
No, I don't.
No. I mean, they're always going on. One of the questions they ask you over and over again, it must have been awful not to see your children. Now, of all the things that are lovable about children, millions of them, the things they say, the things they do. Well, yeah, of course you'd like to see them, but just go on about this one as though, with some sort of permanent sadness when you're actually full of the joys of parenthood. You don't pine and think, oh, I wish I could see them. Yeah, fleetingly you might think that.
Well, we could imagine what they look like.
Etta, can I ask you about your music? That's quite important to you, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I still have a go at playing the piano, but I'm nothing like as good as what I was, I'm afraid. I did grade 8 when I was at school, and sometimes I didn't have a piano available. When I was away in London, and when we first got married, we didn't have a piano. But somebody was going off to South Africa, and he said, "Oh, we've got a piano, you can have that." So that was terrific. So we had this piano given to us, which we had for quite a while.
Yeah, we had it for years and
Fred
years.
brought me a
40
new
years
one.
or so.
What was it?
It's for your 40th wedding anniversary. I bought you a new piano.
Question I do want to ask you both before we end. I mean, you have both been involved in so many aspects of public life and private life. Both know lots of visually impaired people. Do you think visually impaired people are better off now than in the past? And I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about lifestyle, about satisfaction.
Yeah, sure. No, some are, obviously. I mean, I use this expression, the blind elite, which I think is often misunderstood. People think I'm referring to an academic elite. I'm not. I just think that there are blind people whose qualities of endurance and stickability are so good that they cope with everything that life throws at them. But everybody isn't the same. And those kind of people get into the good jobs and they become admired and they get into leading positions and so forth. The David Blunkett's of this life, my dear friend Colin Lowe has come to mind as well. But the majority of blind people are actually, A, the majority are old, B, of the younger groups, the majority have additional impairments, often intellectual disabilities, and life for them, I think, is a pretty hard struggle, and they are not perceived by society as, these remarkable people who do these remarkable things. They are a hidden majority who are kept out of sight and get a pretty hard deal. I always say, if you live long enough, you see progress, but God, you have to live a very long time.
Fred and Etta, a programme which turned out to be one of the most popular we'd ever done. Farewell, Fred, and thank you. If you have memories of Fred, maybe in his role as a sportsman, skier, mountaineer, tandem rider, then we'd like to hear from you. Next week, we'll be talking to the current CEO of the RNIB, Matt Stringer, about their strategy for the organisation's next 10 years. You can contact us by emailing in touch at bbc.co.uk or leave voice messages on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.